The prehistoric crocodile, yes, and no tooth, weighed about 9 tons and reached 13 meters in length, but even this monster kid in comparison with those giants I'll show you now want to see the most. Great, the most formidable of the most amazing animals in the entire history of the planet. So our today video for you Lelong's hard to believe the fact that so large crocodiles there are, but this reptile's name Lelong even managed to get into the book Guinness World Records as the largest saltwater crocodile ever captive. Just imagine its length reached more than 6 meters, and a body weight a ton long. Caught in the Philippines in 2011 after he successfully hunted an adult man and, according to some 12-year-old girl, for 3 weeks. Locals and hunters crocodiles continued the search giant monster when they finally got lucky. Reptiles a few times burst steel ropes which held her, and to pull the roll out of the water it took almost hundreds of people and many hours of effort. The crocodile was named after the famous crocodile hunter which word and led the operation his capture. But ironically, Ernesto Lelong Kanye died of cardiac arrest just a few days before crocodile caught in install. The trap is unfortunate that Lelong crocodile, which at the time the experts were about 50 years slightly experienced, his namesake already 2 years later found him surfaced belly to the top of his enclosure at a local zoo. The autopsy showed that the cause of death was pneumonia. And stop, hard agree, smacks of karma. If we consider the cause of death Longa one way or another, the remains of a crocodile decided not to destroy in 2017 moved them to the National Museum Natural History in Manila. Joy curious visitors after his death, and the long title of the largest crocodile returned to zoos. Acne down there, the crocodile of Queensland, whose length is 5 meters and 47 centimeters and here the age of 100 years. Recall that saltwater crocodile is the most largest member of the family crocodiles. These most ancient reptiles are exceptional hunters. They can be equally comfortable in both fresh and salty reservoirs. Only imagine male crocodile crests can cover a distance of thousands of kilometers, and the speed of their movement in the water can reach 24 kilometers per hour. So sail away from this monster almost impossible if you are on the boat. Interesting is the fact that it is a reptile not evolved there. Current view identical to what they were millions of years ago. That seems to be pointing the fact that they simply perfect Spinosaurus. If the crocodile managed to live until the 21st century, that this distant relative of luck much less meet Spinosaurus, this spiny lizard, which is how its name translates, lived on Earth in the Cretaceous period for about 197 million years ago. Spinosaurus was first described in 1915. The found remains of a German scientist, Ernst Stroma, frames these first copies the skeleton of a Spinosaurus, among which the spinal cord processes in length 61 whole 2/100ths of a meter was unfortunately lost after the Munich museum where they was stored was destroyed by the British aviation in 1944. Would have stayed Spinosaurus without glory of one of the most large animals, if not for the sketch reconstruction of which had to do the scientist in her dinosaur depicted in full length. Compared to the human skeleton, its size is really impressive. How seen on or sketches on the back spine. Spinosaurus adorned elongated spikes that were covered with skin closer to the center. They are longer than those at the base of the neck and tail. The longest spike was the size of nearly 2 meters, though the size adults reached 15-18 meters, a length of 46 meters height, and the weight of their bodies ranged from 9 to 11 tons. Of impressive figures for almost 100 years. Because of the lack of material for the study was conducted, scientists have been arguing about the true form and lifestyle of Spinosaurus, and each of them has offered its own reconstruction so far. In 2014, paleontologists David Martin, Nazar Ibrahim, Gender Siren, and Christian Del Sasso found in Morocco almost a complete skeleton Spinosaurus, pieces of the skull, phalanges, the number of caudal and dorsal vertebral processes, and hind legs. This finding has changed the impression paleontologists about it. First dinosaur was put on all fours, and the second semicircular shape of the sails were changed to trapezoidal. New find assumes that the skull was elongated, the form similar to the jaws of a crocodile with straight teeth sharp as knives for cutting meat, which could easily to pierce even the thickest skin. Spinosaurus had a powerful tail rear part which 2/3 consisted of short vertebrae, articular ledges and narrow spikes with which monster and could bring down their prey on land and to swim in the water extremely quickly. Spinosaurus was a hunter and coastal excellent swimmer, is likely to was typical of a measured way of life, and the lizard spent a lot of time lying on the banks of ponds and shore resources for the enormous body. Spinosaurus probably caught a large fish using their elongated jaws and sharp teeth, and it was the basis of his diet, especially powerful bite Spinosaurus knothead, but this was offset by partly its dimensions and weight as well as a powerful and well-developed front extremities armed large sharp claws. Seasoned drought Spinosaurus looking for possible alternative sources. Power trades carrion and doing hunting Argentinosaurus. But let's fast forward from African Cretaceous period on the territory South America AF. All, there lived a creature has broken record. Even the Spinosaurus in 1980 Argentina. Couple of paleontologists dug up the skull of a giant lizard, comparing the findings with existing the remains. The scientists have calculated that this prehistoric monster had a length of hind limbs around 4.5 meters and a length of shoulder to hip 7 meters if append to the result lengths ears and tail corresponding proportion of previously known titanosaurs, which took Argentinosaurus, and the total its length will be 30 meters, its weight at the same time could reach 100 tons, which makes it the heaviest dinosaur of all. This fence had a long tail and neck and moved on 4 legs. Fortunately for his compatriots, the lizard was a herbivore. Just imagine how many plants it destroyed when you consider that even a small giraffe eats up to 30 kilograms of food a day. The head and brain were small. The skull was quite strong, the jaws were poorly developed. So in addition to feeding and greenery, the dinosaur had to swallow stones to grind the foliage it collected into. At the same time, he was not an easy prey for predators, because only one blow of his powerful tail could knock down anyone who approached him on the spot. Besides Argentinosaurus, and lived in the stage before 20 animals that have made the hunting of predators on them is nearly impossible. The blue whale is a giant the size of a blue whale. It is difficult to understand by video or pictures and just being close with him to understand how this big, but so lucky few try to imagine. It is so great that only the tail can fit 90 people, and in the language that weighs 4 tons 50 can weigh up to 200 tons, and it is 30 times the weight of an elephant. The next time you will be flying on the Boeing 747, imagine instead of an airplane of a blue whale. After all, its length is exactly the same as this, as much as 30 meters. Such impressive figures do blue whales, the largest mammals ever to have existed the planet. Is interesting that whales descended from land-hoofed mammals, and happened this evolutionary leap around 54 million years ago. On their huge bodies still have the coat. They are warm-blooded and feed their young milk. By the way, the kid's blue whale at birth already weighs several tons, and 6 months wait up to 25 tons of drinking with this 353 190 liters of milk, while mommy whales certainly sing them lullaby. After all, according to scientists, only we the people, and they are able to publish ringtones, but whales have ears they can hear with the help of the lower jaw. At the same other senses they are poorly developed, whether it's hearing, smell, or even a sense of taste. This live submarine dives to a sufficiently deep depth of up to 200 meters if the whale is injured or scared. It can go even deeper than 500 meters. This depth it is usually 5 to 30 minutes, but if the poor guy haunted by the whalers, he can hide underwater for almost an hour. Sorry, a whaler makes its own wally. At the beginning of the 20th century, the number of blue whale began to decline rapidly due to their uncontrolled fishing. Whalers attracted massive size of the carcass, blew a whale from which it was possible to get much more fat and meat than from any other whale. By the 1960s, the blue whale was almost exterminated and was on the verge of complete extinction. In 1963 was no more than 5,000 individuals, and now the blue whale remains very rare. The total number does not exceed 10,000 individuals. But today, in addition to poachers, huge threat to whales is our human inertia, namely the pollution of the seas and oceans. Slowly and natural reproduction of blue whales also significantly inhibit the growth of the population of Asian straight tusks of the elephant. VY modern elephants are definitely one of the largest animals on the planet. Their height at the withers can reach 3 meters and a weight of 6 tons, but compared with their ancient relatives Asian straight tusks of elephants, they look like real babies. Lived these